Hello everybody and welcome to the Metro Rivals New York Spotlight. I'm joined today by some familiar faces and maybe some less familiar faces. And we're going to talk to you about our new genre-defining subway game, Metro Rivals New York. If you're looking for more information about Metro Rivals, and let's face it, you're watching this video, hopefully you will be, then make sure you check out our website. There's a link in the description below and also on your screen right now. So before we get into the discussion, let's do some introductions, shall we? So we'll pass over to probably the most familiar face on this live stream. Matt, welcome to the sofas. Do you want to give a little introduction to everybody?
Thanks, JD. Yeah, I'm Matt Pelliston. I'm the executive producer of Trains here at Dovetail.
Brilliant. And on your left-hand side, we have Jordan.
Thanks, JD. Yeah, and I'm Jordan, senior producer on Metro Rivals.
And on my right, we have Lauren.
Thank you, JD. Hi, I'm Lauren, and I'm the producer for Metro Rivals.
Fantastic. Okay, well, let's get on with the discussion then. So I think the first natural question to ask is, what is Metro Rivals? Hopefully some people might have seen the trailer that we've launched relatively recently, but I think in your own words, I'd love to hear what you think Metro Rivals is. So I'll come to you first, Matt. What in your words is Metro Rivals?
So this is fast-paced trains fun. This is less about sticking to authenticity and realism and just raw fun. And that's where we've kind of the gear for this.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you'd kind of built this with fun at its core.
Absolutely. You know, when we're making decisions, it's kind of like, what's going to be the most fun answer for that decision for this game? And really try something different. Just take the you know, what we're doing into a different direction for this product.
Great. And Jordan?
Yeah, I think Matt summarised it really well, to be fair, but a fast-paced, competitive racing train game that is just fun and completely different to Train Sim World.
Yeah, I think that's really important actually. And when we're talking about, we will talk a little bit about Train Sim World and Metro Rivals in the future, but I think it's really important to identify that this isn't necessarily your simulation title that people might know and love. It is something that feels very, very different. Lauren, how about you?
So I think it's also, I mean, you've already highlighted it, saying that it's not a simulation game, and yes, we've built it on the tech that we've used to make Train Sim World, but this is not a simulation. It's fun, it's story driven. You're going to be combating titans to, you know, take control of the New York subway system. And I think it will be a really interesting and new experience for people who, you know, love their train games, but maybe want something that's a bit more gamified.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me on to kind of we've gone from, I guess, a change in how we approach this particular game, but also there's a change in technology as well. So we're obviously, this is our first game that we're launching onto UE5, Unreal Engine 5, and we'll talk a little bit more about what the opportunities of UE5 are, but I think it's really important to highlight that that is a really big technical advance for us, and the team are learning as we're going through on that one. Yeah,
absolutely. Unreal Engine 5 brings, you know, as we're going to talk about later on, lots of new challenges, lots of new opportunities, and that's really cool. That's you know, part of, you know, what's really great about the what we're trying to do in Metro Rivals is just take as much advantage of that as we can.
Yeah, and obviously multiplayer as well, Jordan, is a big part of the game as well. How will that be realised in the game, and how challenging has it been to kind of make that a reality?
Very difficult, actually. I mean, one of the biggest problems is how the network replication, right? So how is everyone seeing the same thing at the same time when you're hustling down the railway line and there's 2, 3, 4 trains side by side, all trying to aim for the same thing. So trying to find that fine balance between a fun, exciting experience that's still competitive and makes players want to come back and continue to play with it. That's been challenging. It's new for us, so we're learning as we're doing it as well. And
multiplayer will be cross-platform as well. So if I'm a player playing on Steam, I'll be able to play against my friends who have got Series S's or Series X's or PS5s. Was that more challenging? How have we managed to make that work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, each of the platforms have very different requirements to make multiplayer work. So there's first making sure that we're compliant and we're supporting the things that we need to for those platforms. And of course, they can have different performance, right? So it's making sure that experience is tailored and parallel across all of the platforms that we support. Dovetail Live is something that we've expanded so that you have the ability to add other Dovetail Live friends. You can reliably send session invites, and we can use that as another avenue to power multiplayer sessions.
Oh, that'd be great for when people who are perhaps Train Sim World players who have built up maybe friends on their systems can go in and they can bring
it over and you're good to go.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we've kind of touched on a couple of bits and pieces already, but Lauren, we're obviously very excited internally, but why should players be excited about it?
I think the main thing is that, one, obviously it's something very new for Dovetail. It's getting, moving to something new that isn't simulation. It's fun, which we've already discussed. There's loads of QTEs. It's fast paced. You're going to be traveling at ridiculous speeds around the tracks, trying not to derail and, fall off into the side of a tunnel or off the bridge or wherever, you happen to end up falling off. But it's just going to be so fast-paced, exciting. Obviously, friends and multiplayer and things like that coming in. But yeah, and also it's going to be slightly different art style as well. We're going to go a bit more funky with it and try and take it, make everything. I don't want to say fun again, but I am. Make it as cool as it can be and as fun of an experience as we can for everybody.
I hope you can see the artwork behind us as well. That's going to give a vibe of the kind of aesthetic maybe that we're looking at for the game. You mentioned QTEs, quick time events?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, so as the player is going through and completing jobs, picking up passengers, gaining some money, so they can end up taking on the track titans, there will be QTs that's thrown at them as they go, just to make sure that, one, they're concentrating on the track, so we've got a vigilance system in. There will be some trackside engineers involved to make sure that they know that you're coming, you have to sound your horn, and there's also going to be, for AI trains, when they're coming along, dipping headlights, just to make sure you don't blind the driver of that AI train.
Seems sensible.
But yeah, as you successfully complete those, you'll gain boost, and then you can use that to travel even faster down the lines and complete jobs more successfully and faster.
Brilliant. So one of the really important distinctions with Metro Rivals is that it's not kind of your standard A to B race. It is very much a opportunity to showcase that you are the best driver. So the person that finishes first might not necessarily be the winner. Instead, you will be judged on how you interact with the rest of the course, how well you stop, and the experience that you give your passengers on the train as well. So it's a little bit different. It's kind of a race with a twist.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And I think that's quite exciting. That feels really different to anything else that's currently out in the market at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say it's probably the only, if not one of the very few games that kind of have this experience. So hopefully, it fills that gap, and also everyone who loves simulation-based games, they will see the fact that this is also, like, the handling of the train is still based on real-life handling physics of those trains as well. But yeah, as I say, just gamifying it a bit more and just making it a bit more fun and a bit more exciting. Nice
one. And you mentioned Track Titans. I'm going to go back to Jordan to talk about Track Titans. They are formidable adversaries in your journey across New York. Tell us a little bit about the Track Titans and some of the challenges that players might be experiencing as they go through their experience in game.
Yeah, so we've touched on it before. The Track Titans kind of own particular zones on the New York subway. And as Lauren touched upon, you complete jobs, you interact with QuickTime events, you build up a social following, you earn a currency to a point where these Track Titans start to become slightly threatened by you. And the idea is that you want to compete with them. So you're, in typical racing games, you'll probably pink slip people for their vehicles. We're pink slipping Track Titans for their zones. We're taking their zones, we're taking their reputation from them. And with the overarching goal to effectively own the entire subway. The Track Titans, each of them will have their own personality, their own art style, their own way that they will represent themselves when you finally get the opportunity of meeting them.
Nice. I look forward to taking them on myself and probably losing very, very, very much. Matt, we talk a little bit about customization now. So this isn't just an opportunity to race people or to be the best driver, but it's also an opportunity to express yourself, to be individual. And how are players able to do that within Metro Rivals?
One of them is their train. So taking some of the things we've done in the past with the livery designer in Train Sim World and letting people go mad on their trains and have some real creative fun decorating the trains. But we're also going to, in addition to just paint, you'll also be able to make small changes that change the shape of the train as well. So addition of different models. I mean, I'm still looking for Jordan to make sure I've got ears on my train. I'm just saying.
Pink cat ears by any chance?
Exactly that. Yeah. This is what I'm looking for, and I'm going to be judging the review. My review score will be based on this. In addition to that, then your player avatar, you can customize your clothes, hats, jewelry, all sorts of things like that. pink hat with ears, again, so that particularly when you're a multiplayer, you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself. And there'll be some of those things which can be unlocked by when you beat the Titans. Maybe you can take some of their unlockables can then be available to use as well. And the Titans have all of their own variations of these customizations, and so you see this whole vibe leaning into the game with just a lot of creative expression amongst everywhere you go and everything you see in this world.
And those cosmetics, they are achievable by progress in game. So when you beat the Titans or when you hit certain milestones or criteria, but also there's obviously an in-game store as well where you can obtain some of these things, but it is all very much cosmetic, aesthetic only.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
No, nothing that will impact your game experience or allow you to be better than somebody else.
No, totally not. No, so the in-game store is there to let you find your customization rather than necessarily having to wait to play through the game. But if what you want to do is just play through the game, everything becomes available that way as well. So it's it gives you the choice of how you want to proceed.
Great. Okay, brilliant. Well, I think it's probably a good idea at this point to talk about where the game is at now and what is still to happen, I guess, before we get to the point where we're happy to put a release date to it and to release it. So I'll start with you, Matt. Whereabouts are we in the development process right now?
So we're at a stage called alpha at the moment. So we've got builds that we can play, and a lot of the work going on at the moment is about honing and refining that experience. As it's really important with something which is more game focused like this, actually playing it, and the minute to minute, the second to second becomes really important about, if there's any bits that feel too quiet or bits actually where we know a couple of times we're finding ourselves overloaded with too many things coming up at once, and just trying to even and balance all of that out. So there's a lot of work going on there, planning the construction of the rest of the route and really just pinpointing how that style is going to finalize.
Great. And you kind of mentioned about refining and testing. One of the things that we are doing with Metro Rivals, which I think is the first time we've done it, is use our Playlab. And Lauren, I know we were talking a little bit about the Playlab before we came on air. How has that bit, first of all, tell us a little bit about what the Playlab is and how that has been impactful when we've been developing Metro Rivals so far.
Yeah, sure. So Playlab is a newly set up space that we've got for user research testing. And it's inviting people in to come play our games, give us feedback, and just make sure that we're not just making a game that we love, but that our players love as well. So we've recently taken Metro Rivals through that process for the first time, and we're going to be working through the feedback and see what we can get into the roadmaps at the moment and get that feedback in, get it done, and make it the best experience it can be. Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight we obviously have tested things in the past, and we've done things where we've used external testing facilities, but this is the first time we've been able to do sort of a proper internal play test with people who are not members of Dovetail staff, which I think is really important because, again, as you alluded to, Lauren, we might think it's the best game ever, but ultimately we need that validation that actually we're creating something that people want to play.
You can become blinded by your vision as well. We have a lot of internal playtest sessions, as Lauren mentioned. So we'll have build review sessions at various levels. The team will have a lot of their own build review sessions looking at the stuff that they're individually working on. So you'd think there's a lot of eyes on the game while it's being developed. But then after all of that has gone through and we're all thinking, yes, this is in pretty good shape, it'll go for something like the Playlab session and someone will find a really big issue in the first minute. And it's that sort of different perspective, a fresh set of eyes on everything, and different experiences, different expectations that different players have got. It just really, really helps make sure that when this comes out, it lands as well as possible and strongly as possible with as many people.
And you said we're in alpha at the moment, Matt, and what is required therefore, Jordan, for us to get to beta and then to get to full commercial launch? Is it tied into the feedback that we're getting from things like Playlabs, or is it something else, or is it a combination of lots of different things?
It's a combination of lots of different things, really. I mean, to warrant no longer being in alpha and going into our beta phase means that we're functionally where we want to be, right? So all of our game features, we understand what they are. The playtest sessions play a huge part of that. You know, what Lauren and Matt have spoken about recaps it nicely, but what's really important about the Playlab is that we can also implement a new feature at a prototype phase, and we can have external people test and play that, so we can get a sense real quick, real early, is this right for Metro Rivals? If it's not, then it's not, and if it is, it is. So when we talk about QuickTime events, is 2, 3, 4 events enough to have a good pace to the minute-to-minute gameplay, or do actually we need 10, right? So we can judge that early on, and at the point where we're happy with the gameplay, we understand our art direction, all of our features and our gameplay elements are there working together, and we understand what those loops are, we can then leave the alpha phase and go into content ultimately.
Brilliant. And so when we're looking at I guess the longer term future of Metro Rivals, everything is brilliant. We've launched and it's a fantastic success. What does the next sort of 3 to 6 months look like? What are we looking to think about adding to the game? Is there anything that would be a particular interest to us right now to get any feedback on?
Absolutely. I mean, release doesn't stop for Metro Rivals New York, right? The minute that Metro Rivals is released is when our ears turn to our players' attention, right? And we want to hear what our players have to say about it. What things do we need to invest our time? What things do we need to refine and iterate upon? And actually, you know, starting to build up a catalogue of items for the store. There's an opportunity there where we can listen to our players. What types of things do they want to see? Do they want to see seasonal content, or are there specific things that they would like to be able to see? So really it is just turning our full attention to you guys as players and listening to what you've got to say about it. And where do we then need to invest our time?
So as we've mentioned, Metro Rivals New York is our first foray into Unreal 5 development. And I think we're going to go into the section of the spotlight where I'm going to be taught by you guys on how we use these things, because I'm seeing some things in front of me, on the screen in front of me, that I literally have no idea what they are and what they do.
Gets nerdy from here, folks.
Yes. So let's start with Lumen. Matt, can you tell us a little bit about it and why we've chosen to use it and what we've used it for in Metro Rivals?
Yeah, so there's a number of key technologies that that really make Unreal what it is, Unreal 5 what it is. One of those is Lumen. Lumen is the lighting system inside Unreal Engine 5. It allows to have much more realistic looking lighting, a lot more control over the lighting. It means that you don't need to light bake anymore. So in Unreal Engine 4, we have to light bake anything that's, it sounds really odd. You'd think, because in the real world, you're used to, if you want to make something dark, you just cover it, right?
Yeah.
In video game engines, that's not how it works, because the general illumination is still there. And if you want to make it dark, you have to light bake that area, which is, again, another term, ray tracing. It's effectively where it pre-calculates all of the light and says that, oh, actually there's no light here, and then it's dark. Now that's an expensive, time-consuming process. It can take dozens of hours to light bake for some of the routes that we've done. Imagine the Bakerloo line, and for half the route was underground. And it also takes up a lot of memory. And a lot of storage on disk. Well, Lumen doesn't need any of that. It's all done completely on the fly. That's a massive step forward. So, you know, the team have been really hyped about the possibilities of, you know, real-time, I don't want to say ray tracing because that's not quite what this is, but the fact that you've got much more real-time lighting coming in without having to do all of this light baking stuff means we can do so much more and get so much better a visual.
I mean, that sounds incredible. I really wanted to make a light Bakerloo joke, but I kind of already did. But moving on from Lumen, another one is Nanite.
So Nanite is, you know, one of the other major technologies that are in Unreal Engine 5. So throwing more technical terms out,
please do, hit me.
So LODs, level of details, are how, if you imagine that you make a 3D model of a train and it's glorious, what does that 3D model look like when it's 2 miles away? And it's only covering a pixel on the screen. Well, you don't want all million polygons, 500,000 polygons anymore. It's useless. And what it's doing is it's making the scene take a lot longer to render. And the technique traditionally for this is this level of details, where you make multiple models of the train. So as it gets further away from you and is smaller on the screen, well, you can't see some of these details anymore, like maybe door handles. So they just get rid of them from the model. And then so you get these much, much more efficient models as they get further away from the camera. Well, Nanite does away with that. Nanite dynamically scales the model depending on where it is. Well, the upside of that is that you can now make significantly more detailed models, such as we've got full 3D ballast in Metro Rivals, and then that just automatically and dynamically scales down, and we don't have to do anything. So it's not taking up memory, it's not taking up processing time. You get the benefit of the high performance rendering going on to support that. So Nanite is a really, really cool addition that allows a lot of things.
So I'm hearing better performance, better graphics, better lighting. Let's talk about proc gen then. So procedural generation, I should say, making it sound like I actually know what I'm talking about. Jordan, talk to me about procedural generation.
Yeah, procedural content generation, or I've heard it, procedural generation content, or PCG, however it is. It really impressive tools ultimately, and actually it's something we've been using for a number of years on a slightly smaller scale in Train Sim World titles, right? So using splines is technically a type of procedural content generation, but UE5 opens up a whole nother layer of what procedural generation is. And so for us, for Metro Rivals, we're using a number of open world sources to obtain very accurate data around building heights, building types and sizes, so that we can represent that inside Metro Rivals. So when we think about New York, we think tall skyscrapers, we talk about that New York City skyline. We can very easily pull data, feed that into our tools, and then generate buildings based on that data. So it substantially speeds up our development time, meaning we can cover more ground. Metro Rivals is 100+ miles of track and blocks of city wider than the track that we've ever done before. And we're able to do that in a much smaller fraction of the time than we are elsewhere. So it's a really impressive piece of software. And we can use it for a number of things. It's not just tailored to generating buildings. We can actually start to generate neighborhoods from the buildings that we're generating through data. So you can start to see, we pull data, we make a building, we then make a city, and then we can place cities around. And New York is made up of lots of different types of settlements and building types, and we can just very quickly replicate that in game, and actually the representation that we have for New York is extremely impressive.
Okay, that sounds great, and obviously New York is above ground. A lot of it is above ground, but some of it is below ground as well, and that's obviously quite a lot of the focus of the game. Lauren, how have we used procedural generation to help support what's under the ground as well? Yeah, so obviously it's a subway system. Lots of it's underground, so you need tunnels so your train can actually travel underground, comes into the overground, sees all of New York. So what we've been able to do is generate those tunnels via PCG, and then the artists, who are very talented, have been working to create all of the different bits of artwork that we need to make those tunnels look as gritty as we can, with as much variation as we can, so it's not just the same bit of artwork every single time. And that is all done via the tool. They just place it, hit a button that says regenerate, and then whenever there's new assets ready, they get placed into the scene and you have tunnel. Wow.
This also works with the stations as well. So within the ProcGen tooling itself, we've been able to put in stuff for like our NPC spawning as well. So we don't have to, go in and hopefully manually place and things like that. There's been a couple of places where we maybe had to because technology, but a lot of the time we've just been able to go, just generate some NPCs, generate a station here. And yeah, we get the underground network. So it's I'm simplifying it, obviously, because I'm not a tech person. But
I feel like I could go in and do it myself.
I think also what's really important is it doesn't just stop at the part of generating the environment, right? Because there's a lot of things related to gameplay. We've touched on customization before, so we can actually place hooks inside the stations through procedural content generation that allows you to customize things on stations. And gameplay events, for example, audio, lighting, that's everything that we can sort of place through the procedural content generation. Now, of course, we do passes after, and we'll have very tailored scenes or things that are happening along that line that require that manual input still. But ultimately, the bare bones and the basis of our environment, our gameplay hooks, our lighting, customization, hooks, and everything we need can just be placed through tooling.
Yeah, so it's sort of working smarter.
Absolutely.
And keeping that human touch within a framework.
Absolutely, and the buildings that feed into the tools and the materials that the buildings use, they're all generated from our artists in-house. It's just that all feeds together they create one instance of it and can very quickly place that multiple
Yeah.
times across a route, right? So
Amazing. So yeah, I'm hearing efficiency, I'm hearing like immersion, increased immersion, I'm hearing world building, I'm hearing all kinds of good stuff that I think takes us up a level from what we've ever done before.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we wanted to do was when you move into procedural generation, you run the risk of being repetitive. It runs the risk of looking like it's created by a machine and losing that personal touch of when an artist has done it. So the art team have been really good at spending a lot of time refining the tools and making sure that they don't look that have been just machined, created the route. There's lots of personal touches, lots of variations going on. So the route still looks really super detailed. And it was key for us. We wanted to recreate New York over this area, quite a large area. To get it to the suitable level of detail, it just wasn't feasible to do it in the old school ways of doing things. So, developing these tools, which our team have done a magnificent job of doing and will continue to enhance, has really given a huge level up in the detail that's achievable via this automated method.
That sounds super cool, and I think it's important way for us to develop as a studio. I think there's a lot of other game studios also that are using similar-ish technologies right now, so it makes sense for us to be utilising them to give the players the best experience that we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the right way to build large worlds and to get the large environments built over a sensible amount of time so that you can still put all that extra detail in. Because even when you finish with the procedural generation side of the route, the artists will still want to go in and give it those personal touches. And now they can spend their time on those really cool creative activities rather than the more mundane sort of base building side of things. So it's great for the team and great for the end result.
So both Train Sim World 6 and Metro Rivals are being developed in-house by Dovetail Games. And I'm sure a lot of players will be asking, what are our plans to support both games moving forward? And Matt, it feels appropriate to ask you that question, first of all, overseeing both projects.
Yeah, so we've expanded the team. We brought new people on to support Metro Rivals. We've expanded the TSW side of the development as well. And there are some people that go across both projects because fundamentally they're both about trains. So we've been doing a lot of tech building on Metro Rivals. But yeah, we've got growth on both the teams and keeping those projects active.
It sounds like there's quite a lot of crossover between the two teams and our other internal teams that work on any other projects. How are we using something like Metro Rivals as a support for our other titles? What kinds of things are we learning? What kinds of techniques are we implementing that are helping our other titles? I don't know who wants to start on that one. Does anyone want to jump in first?
So obviously UE5 Unreal Engine 5 is very different to Unreal Engine 4. It shares a lot of things, but there's also a lot of differences. There's lots of new ways to do things, different ways to think. So we needed, we wanted a project which would let us get used to Unreal Engine 5. Back a long time ago, actually. Now we did Eurofishing. It was actually our prototype project. It was that's probably underselling actually, because Eurofishing was fantastic. But actually, we did that. Original reason for doing Eurofishing was for the team to get used to Unreal Engine 4 before we commissioned and started on this huge project of making what became Train Sim World. Because making realistic train simulations like Train Sim World, they're a huge exercise. There's so much that's got to go into them. And a project like Metro Rivals or Eurofishing was back then, we could focus on getting used to the platform, getting used to the engine, working out how we could get the most out of that before we then really hone in on all the specifics that really become important with the actual simulation itself.
Great. Okay, well that makes a lot of sense, Matt. I assume with things like when we talked about Playlabs as well, Lauren, some of the information and the processes that we're going through with that will also help our existing titles as well as kind of any other future games that we're hoping to develop as well.
Yeah, I think it's based on like user research and Playlab is all very new. Bringing in our players to play the games that we're developing and get their feedback is a very new process for us. And we need to refine that process to make sure that we're getting the best information we can out of that. We don't want to just do it just because we can. We want to do it and have a reason for that. Yeah. And then it's also working out how we kind of feed that feedback into the development process back to our developers to get that information into the games when they release, or like when we do updates and live servicey things and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think it'll be a good learning opportunity for that, and then we can roll it out across the board with future projects and current ones if we so wish.
Great, and I assume that something like, say for instance, we found out an amazing piece of feedback from the stuff that we're doing with Metro Rivals, and it was applicable to a Train Sim World, for instance. We would then investigate, oh, do you know what, actually maybe we could do that for Train Sim World as well.
Yeah, I don't see, there's no reason as to why. It's not, you know, held down to one project, right? It's not, we're just going to get feedback for this project and that's where it goes. We can experiment with if it fits into others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that multiplayer is a huge part of the world of gaming now, and a lot of games will use it as ways to keep players coming back and enjoying the game and sort of enjoying everything it has to offer. So Jordan, in terms of what we've learned from multiplayer so far, is there anything that we've taken from that I'm not going to say we're going to add multiplayer to Train Sim World, because we've already said many times that's not going to happen, but is there anything that we're learning from the multiplayer journey that we can utilise within both existing or future titles as well?
I mean, absolutely. From you know, right the way down from the tech that we're using to power trains and how we make multiplayer a stable platform to use, right the way through to what is that multiplayer experience. You know, what types of different things can we have friends doing together on a railway network with trains, right? So there's lots of different learnings that we're finding out about the tech and how we can stabilize that, make it more performant. And then we're starting to really focus into that experience for multiplayer. There's lots of things that, you know, lots of great ideas that may be more applicable to a train simulator than Metro Rivals, and some things that are fantastic for Metro Rivals, not for a train simulator. So it's just as much as a learning game for us than anyone, right? So, yeah. And we'll share them learnings. You touched upon it before. There's lots of similarities across these two teams, and one of that is the developers, right? They do have worked on Train Sim World and they are working on Metro Rivals, so they can take the learnings very easily between projects.
Fantastic. So from some of the conversations that we've had around this table today, it feels like there is a longer term vision perhaps for what we want to do with trains. And when it comes to you, Matt, what do we envisage the future to be? We've got Train Sim World, we've got Metro Rivals. What is the end vision?
It would be, I don't know, disingenuous to say that there isn't an end goal here. I don't think we're ready to share where we're going. But our vision really is to create the best train simulation experiences, and Unreal Engine 5 is a key part of that vision. So this is part of that journey to take us along the way of where we want to get to, and developing Metro Rivals.
But we're a long way away from that at this stage.
I mean,
we're still dipping our toes into the water.
It takes a long time to develop an authentic train simulation, you know, before we start on that journey, it's, you know, getting the team used to. They've learned so much making Metro Rivals, and that has changed how we might think about our long-term vision as well, for the better. So this has been a really good process, and one that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately we want, before we run, we want to walk, right? We want to make sure Metro Rivals is the best experience that it can be. We want our Train Sim World experience to be as brilliant as it can be. The ultimate train experience is a culmination of things. It's not just one game, or it's not one experience. There's lots of different ways that this can work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're still learning a lot from players, even on Train Sim World. You know, as Train Sim World 6 goes out, you know, we're always talking to players about what they want to see. You know, we get some great feedback from the player surveys. We'll continue to be looking for that feedback. But from the team's perspective, actually now being an Unreal 5 engine team is a big step forward for us.
Yeah, and I think on that note, we will finish this up for today. So thank you very much to the guests for today. Thank you very much to Lauren.
No worries.
Thank you very much to Jordan.
Thank you very much.
And of course, thank you, Matt, as ever.
Thanks, JD.
If you are interested in finding out a little bit more about Metro Rivals, and it sounds very exciting, I've understood probably about half of what we've talked about today, but it sounds good, doesn't it? You'll want to check out the link on screen now. That'll take you to the Metro Rivals New York website, where you can find out more about the game. You can check out all the trailers, and it'll also link you to our social media accounts and our brand new Discord server, where you can find out more, and we'll give you updates as soon as we get them. And the game is also available to wishlist now on the platform of your choice. So whether you are on PC, Xbox Series S or X, or PS5, you can wishlist now. So go and do it. And that about wraps us up for the day. We'll see you on the tracks.